Well, welcome everyone to another Hoops U chat. I'm Andy Katz, pleased to be joined by Raphael Davis, my friend and colleague, and we've got Greg Gard from Wisconsin here. School has started, like a lot of semester schools around the country. Greg, you guys probably have the most intact team, or one of the most, I should say. Top three, top four in the Big Ten of guys that stayed together, added some pieces. How you feeling as the semester starts?
Andy, really, really good. I mean, you mentioned keeping guys together, and I think in today's world, retention is if not at the top, it's right near the top in terms of goals as a coaching staff. As we came into the off season, we knew were going to be important to us, not only in terms of keeping continuity, but we played last year with no seniors, one of the younger teams we've had, and to be able to have our building blocks have always been get old and stay old. And in today's world, it's a little more challenging. So to be able to have the vast majority of these guys back and improve, I think that was one thing, we really focused on. Obviously adding pieces, whether it be a transfer in AJ Store or the freshman class coming in. We're going to infuse some talent, but our current guys and the guys that were returning, we had to take a jump, and we've seen that happen over the summer.
Coach, I know you can't necessarily mix two seasons together. Can't mix this season with last season. But how much momentum did the way you guys finished out last year, the way you guys played in NIT, give you guys going into the summer?
Yeah, I think you bring up a good point of 2 seasons. It was almost 3 because we were a different team after Tyler got hurt, and then Max followed up as soon as Tyler came back. Max Klesmet got hurt. We never, I felt, hit the same stride or rhythm that we had before that. So to see how we had played early in the year, battle through the injuries and have a ton of close games, but then, as you mentioned, Andy, finish out the year relatively strong. I think obviously here the expectations are we're in the NCAA tournament every year, but to go through that, what we did and get over the hump of swallowing your pride a little bit, having to go play well in the postseason against good teams was good for us in terms of launching into the off season, the summer, and now as we start the fall workouts. There's no doubt, looking back, it's helped us.
In terms of looking back, you don't want to, focus too much on it, but since you do have a good core and a lot of those guys back, how much in the spring and early summer did you look at a play here, a play there? Because, we all thought you should have been in, but we could see why maybe a game or two, why they didn't put you in, but it was right there on that line. How much did you analyze that?
Yeah, I think you have to be careful not to overanalyze it. There was a couple games that got away even early. The game in the Bahamas with Kansas, one that we felt, looking back, there were some things we could have, a couple defensive rebounds. The game doesn't go to 1 overtime or 2 overtime. So, or to overtime, or even at the end of the first one. So I think not overanalyzing it, but at the same time, there's a lot of things we need to get better at. And part of that's what we've done physically through the off season here. And just a year of maturity, a year of experience has been a great, I think, asset for these guys going through the off season. And they understand, and the NIT experience was good for us, but they also know they don't want to repeat it. So it's been a good motivator from a lot of angles there's things we got to finish games better. We got to shoot it better. We got to finish in the paint better, and all that I think can come through how we physically matured, but also the experience we have under our belt right now.
And you talk about physically, and first person that comes to mind when I think about your guys' team is a Fort Wayne area guy, Connor Season. Is that just his body through the pictures on social media? You see him lifting weights or whatnot. He's probably one of my favorite guys to follow in the Big Ten, just because of his energy. Right. Where have you seen him grow physically on the floor? Because you could see last season as the game just started to slow down for him. So Where do you think that next step is for him?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing with him, Raphael, was that the experience was a great teacher, and it's been for all of our guys. But it really gives validation to how important the weight room is. And I think probably as he came through it as a high school player, I'm not sure if he was in the weight room 1 day a week. It was not more than 1 day a week. So I think for him coming in and understand, he knew it. He didn't debate it. He wasn't defiant with it, but having that experience of what he wasn't able to get done on the game floor and even in practice, I think was a great teacher for him to understand what you have to do in the off season and why we train the way we do. And he's changed his body. I mean, and he's still not at the crest of where he will be. But you have guys like that needed to add. I think Max Klesmet and Chucky Hepburn have slimmed down and become quicker and more athletic. So you find that balance, usually younger in your career, you're trying to gain enough muscle mass and be able to have a big enough hammer to swing. And then as you get a little kind of the midpoint of your career, you find where's the optimal weight, size, et cetera, for me. And each individual player is a little different. So I think each of them has kind of found their optimal level of where they need to be physically. And hopefully we can maintain that. And I think part of the ability to maintain that is having depth and not the season takes a toll as it is, but when you're not deep enough, that takes even more of a toll. So trying to develop and acquire more depth, be it through development, be it through the portal, be it through our freshman class coming in, we're deeper than we've been in a while.
And just one more, Eddie, my bad.
Yep.
Sorry, just that. When I think about, like you said, just the year of experience, is a guy like Max Klesmet, a guy that's transferred in, but now he has a year under his belt, knowing what you guys want from him, knowing his role. How big is that to have just not a transfer come in and just leave, but a transfer come in, have a year, get comfortable, go through some ups and downs, and now you exactly what you want from him.
Yeah, because I think it took him a while. I think he played better down the stretch because he became more comfortable. And I think now what I've seen is he's comfortable not only in his production on the floor. I think there was a little bit of I have to prove it at this level mindset from Max coming from Wofford. But now it's I've proven it. I belong here. And I've watched his voice grow. And he's become a very vocal leader, similar to the other guys we've had in that kind of role. Brad Davison, Zach Showalter, Josh Gosser over the years that we've had have kind of been that glue guy that as their career evolves really grabs that leadership mantle, and Max is a guy that's done that.
Greg, we can't take anything for granted anymore. And guys that we assume, oh, they're a Wisconsin guy, they're a Buckeye, they're a Wolverine, junior, senior year, they could just move. I mean, we're seeing it within the league. I mean, Battle goes from Minnesota, Ohio State. Tyler was not one of those guys. He was pretty quick with his decision. He obviously could have gone to the draft too.
Right.
How do you walk that fine line in this new world that we're in, that you don't want to offend anyone? You want to make sure they know that you want them, but at the same time, they're all going to want to think what's out there.
Right. I think the main thing, Andy, is you have to be honest and open. And, as we got towards the end of the year, we weren't even done playing. And I started addressing some of the things. We had some tampering issues going on from the outside that I addressed head on rather than just whisper around the rumors. I went right at it. And I think that really showed our guys that, hey, I really want you here, and the relationships that were developed. And like I said, just being point blank honest. And they're not always going to like what you have to say. And they're not always going to say what they want to hear. But at the same time, I think it was in our best interest that we were point blank honest with, our assessment of everything. So, it's a credit to our guys. They understood how close we were. We didn't get to where we wanted to be. And to have an opportunity to put the vast majority of this group back together, I think is what's, Tyler has a chance to be the only player in Wisconsin history to win 3 Big Ten championships in a career. Nobody's ever done that in history. He's got 2 already. If he can get 3 out of 5 here in the 5 years he's been here, he'll be the only, he's a standalone in Wisconsin history. So for him, that meant something. And I think all of our guys have that mindset of, as much as you battle the individualism in today's society, we have guys that want to be a part of something bigger than themselves. And that was a driving factor behind Tyler's decision is, hey, I have a chance to do something special again that nobody ever has done here. And I got a good group of teammates to go do it with, and we have a chance to be a really good team. That's important to me. And that's always been kind of you would assume that, but when you get into today's world of options, those things come more to light.
No, that's just a testament to your guys' program, because that's one thing I've always respected about your guys' program. Even from when I played, the guys seem not only together on the floor, they seem together off the floor. It seems like just a unit of guys. You even see in the offseason, I saw you guys go paintballing and doing different things like that. How
Right.
important are those activities off the floor, like you talked about, that the team now Max feels like he has a voice in the locker room and not an outsider?
Huge. I get asked all the time, what has made your program successful the last 2+ decades? We've had blips here or there. We've had really good ones. We've had, last year winning 20 games was considered a dip. Well, if a dip is 20 games, then we're okay. But culture is the number one, and everybody says it. And it's really it's about the people you have they drive your culture. So our older guys have done a good job of kind of leading our younger guys. The younger guys have a great understanding of what they're walking into and what the expectations are here, and they want to be a part of that. We want to continue to push the bar higher. So culture, even though it's everybody's favorite buzzword right now, it's important. It's not really anything special. It's just in terms of unique. I don't have a magic wand, but it's the people you have in your program and that they're striving for the same goals every day.
Scheduling, you have never shied away from playing elite competition. You got a great schedule again. You had a great home game against Tennessee, November 10th, I think it is. But we've seen that the non-conference, you better do at least okay enough, because everyone cannibalizes each other in the league for 2 months. And it's only going to get worse in terms of that next year with the addition of USC, UCLA, Oregon, and Washington. So, how did you balance what you were going to put together for November, early December before you get into this meat grinder?
Yeah, some of it was by chance, Andy, and some of it was through strategic planning. Providence, obviously, through the Gavitt Cup, that was an assigned game. We knew with the ACC Big Ten Challenge going away, we needed to replace a marquee game. And I've been in contact and talks with Tommy Lloyd since he got the job at Arizona about playing a home and home. And it just worked where, we had 6 major games in the non-conference last year. The difference was we had 3 were neutral, 1 was road, 2 were home, or however it played out. This year it's 2-2 and 2. So obviously Marquette is always a great game. It's great for basketball in the state. You mentioned Tennessee, which are returning a home and home from the 1920 season when we played in Knoxville. And then, the MTE event with opening up against Virginia and SMU and West Virginia being there. So yeah, we're going to be, plus the other ones we have that you never take for granted.
Yeah.
Some people call me crazy for doing this, but our players, I even talk to our players about it. That's what they want. You come to this program at this level, you want to play the best of the best and really be tested. And I think it does nothing but help us. You have to do well in the Big Ten regardless. And that's going to be a meat grinder as usual. And it never changes in the 23 years I've been here, 22 years. You can throw everybody in a hat and every game's going to be tough. There's not going to be an easy one. There used to be, 15 years ago, there's not anymore. So you might as well get ready for it. Let's dive into it. And our guys are excited about it. I know they were, as I was giving them kind of what was coming through the spring and the summer when contracts were getting finalized. I could sense the excitement in our locker room and on the practice court.
Hey, one quick follow, Raphael. Next year, as of now, it's 20, but you got a lot of runway before. What's the right number of league games with 18 teams?
I think it really it depends on what happens with the other MTE events. Does the Gavitt Cup keep going? Is there another challenge with another league that comes about? I think there is a point where there is too many. You start cannibalizing yourselves even more. I think we found the optimal in terms of how it's helped us as a league in postseason play. We've gotten more teams in since we've gone to 20 games. I don't know if analytically it adds up to go more than 20. And if you're going more than 20, you aren't increasing your total numbers. So now you're decreasing the opportunities to play, the Arizonas, the Tennessees and the home and homes, which I think everybody's doing neutral site and unique games, which are great. I love those too, but the old traditional home and home for each fan base, I think is really unique and fun. So, it's a debate probably on every one of our head coaches' call that we have amongst the 14 or 16, depending on who sits on the meeting that day. But 20 is good for a lot of reasons. It won't go backwards. I'll tell you that, Andy. It won't be less than 20, if it goes beyond that, we'll just determine that down the road.
Coach, you guys, I mean, each player has a lot going on nowadays. You got NIL, you got social media, you got the Big Ten expanding. I mean, you guys have a big time schedule. It's easy to look ahead to Tennessee, to Virginia, to these teams. How do you keep the guys grounded, focused on every day?
Well, they know we have to attack this fall with the same feverish pitch that we did the spring and the summer. And that's weight room, that's conditioning on Bascom Hill. Andy used to walk it as a student. Now we run it. And the other stuff we're going to do here for 3 weeks before we start September 25th. And then, you know, it's a building, and everybody talks about process, much like they talk about culture, but it is. If we skip steps here in September, we're not going to be where we want to be in October. And the same thing for October and as it relates to November. So one day at a time, let's max them up. It's extremely competitive here in-house. This summer it's the first time in a while I've had a little scuffle in practice, which was good. You know, I didn't know whether to break it up or, you know, kind of sit back and go, okay, I like what I'm seeing. So competitively, I think it's up a notch or two. And we need to carry that same mindset as we compete with each other and raising the bar here through September and October before games start in November. It's going to make us better for what's coming, as we talked about, you know, pieces of this schedule coming at us in November.
All right, last thing for me, AJ Storr played internationally this summer. You know, you've dipped into the portal. You haven't, like, you know, it feels like it's been, you know, okay, I need a backup center. I need, you know, maybe another wing. It's been situational. What was the mindset with the guys that you added for this group, because you had so many coming back?
Yeah, AJ was the only one that we added in this class. It's been strategic. You know, I think in our program, in our environment here, I think that strategy is the right fit. I think we're still a recruit, retain, and develop program and helping guys get better through the course of their careers. But AJ he's been so far a terrific fit. You know, he's from right down the road in Rockford, so it's coming back home for him. It's great for his family and friends to be able to watch him play. And he adds a dimension to us that he can do some things that are game-changing athletically. So that, you know, you combine that with walking in with a very experienced group. Our older guys have done a great job of kind of, you know, taking him under their wings, so to speak, and showing him, you know, the Wisconsin way. And he's been extremely coachable. I know he did a great job with the Bahamian national team when they were down in Puerto Rico. And that was an experience I felt, as we talked about, it was important for him that he didn't miss much time with us here, but yet it was a chance for him to get some more experience. And there's going to be learning and growing. And with the learning and growing are going to come some bumps in the road for him, because it's an adjustment, different program, different terminology, different competition in terms of how you get played specifically in our league. So, but AJ is very coachable. Like I said, he does some things you can't teach. And I'm excited to get him on the floor here this month and just continue to build and help him continue to grow his game, because you realize he's young. You know, he's got 3 more years left, and obviously has aspirations, as everybody does, to play to the next level. But he's really focused on, as I mentioned earlier, being a part of something bigger than himself and trying to help us chase another Big Ten championship.
And last thing I got, Coach, I just wanted to ask about Chucky. I mean, came into the season last year as all Big Ten, didn't necessarily have the season he wanted to have. What has this offseason been like for him?
I think really, I mentioned earlier about how he's redefined his body. And I think the one thing Chucky, you know, learned through experience last year, that he had, as a freshman, he had 2 really good wingmen in Brad Davison and Johnny Davis, or he was their wingman. So life without those guys, and his numbers went up. I mean, you watch he didn't maybe hit the big shots like he did the year before, the game clinching shots, the game deciding shots. He had a few that went against him versus the other way around the year before, but him learning how to lead a team, how to be more vocal. And again, him changing himself physically. I thought he wore down a little bit. He's battled some injuries, and he's gotten those completely behind him here in the off season. So I think a healthier, more experienced, quicker, more explosive Chucky is what we're going to see. And he likes this group, because I think he's been able to get them to play at a pace that they're more comfortable with, and we like to play with, being a little more aggressive. And he's done a really good job. I mentioned the guys that have taken AJ under their wing. Chucky's been the first in line to really help AJ make the transition, has done an awesome job with helping AJ.
And I love that because the easy thing for him after you guys didn't make the tournament would be like, oh, I'm just going to go and somewhere else,
Right.
and he didn't do it.
Right.
And so, I mean, your guys stay together, which is what it should be, but it doesn't always happen and we take everything for granted. Greg, we will see you next month in Minnesota.
Sounds good. Looking forward to it.
All right. Thank you.
Appreciate it, Coach.
Bet. Take care.
All right. So I don't want to constantly feel like, oh, I love that team, but that's sort of our trend line here. It's another team that did make the tournament, like when we had Rutgers, that their core is back. I mean, I'll be honest. I'll be shocked if they're not in the tournament in March.
Yeah, I would be. I mean, you look at how they played in NIT. I mean, Tyler Wall got back healthy. Max Klesmit just looked more comfortable. You can see as the season goes on. And I remember playing with John Noctius, and he came in as a transfer, and his voice just wasn't felt early on in the season. I mean, even with the younger guys, the freshmen and sophomores, because he was new too. But by the time middle of Big Ten season, he was the voice in the locker room. He was leading the way. And sometimes it just takes guys a little while to get comfortable. But with him coming back, I think Chucky will have a redemption year. I'm really excited about Chucky because you come into the season all Big Ten, you don't play how you are expected to play. And now you see lists come out about best point guards in the league. He's not making those top fives anymore. So that should be exciting.
And think about this. We sat together on that desk a year ago in Minnesota, and the only team that had 2 preseason all Big Ten players was Wisconsin.
Yep.
Remember? It was Chucky and Tyler Wall.
Yep.
Both are back, and both legitimately could be, first team type all Big Ten players.
And now they got, I mean, I could put Connor Season in that mix. He could be all Big Ten because now they know they have a guy that can go and get a bucket. Like Coach said, Chucky felt better when he had wings pretty much that could score, that can make big shots. Now you have a guy in Connor Season that they're going to draw stuff up or out of timeouts. They're going to have under out of balance plays for him. They're going to have quick hitters. So everything isn't going to be in the ball in Chucky's hand, over dribbling, take a bad shot. You're even going to have Max Klesmit. As the season went on, he drove the ball a little bit more, got to the middle of the paint, made more plays. And then now he has the depth that they've been looking for. Because I remember when I played, you turn the ball over, you get subbed out. It doesn't matter who you are. It was Frank Kaminsky turn the ball over, Nigel Hayes. I mean, you had Duncan Durgin coming off the bench and those type of players. Now they're back to, it seems like Coach feels as though they're back to that type of depth where they have more guys that can play. So it's no longer, I know I'm going to play 25, 30 minutes. Whatever happens, happens.
The other thing I would just say is they need to get back, and I know you know this from you playing there, but it seems like the last couple of years, the Kohl Center has lost a little of its intimidation. Yeah. They've lost some games there more than they normally do. And I think they need to get, and that's on everybody. Don't sit on your hands, because it was one of the more intimidating places to play. Obviously they were good, but at the same time, they weren't losing home games. They've lost some home games now. I think that is critical to change.
Yeah, it used to be got to win by 10 to win at Wisconsin. I mean, you go up there, it's cold, the crowd they're loud, they're rambunctious, they're normally a little bit intoxicated. So, I mean, it was always tough to win at Wisconsin. I think of my 4 years, we won one time there, and it's my freshman year. And they had some really good teams, but it's just a tough environment to play in, and the fans always show up. So I think they, just like in Ohio State, they've got to get back to, I know it wasn't that long ago when I played, but you play in these arenas now, and it feels like the arenas that were once a little bit tougher to play in, now they're a little easier to play in, and the ones like Rutgers, now that's hard to go in and play. So I think that's just comes down to the players winning games, the players being active on social media, being engaging with the fans, not feeling above the place. Because when you lose, when you don't make the tournament, you are not cool on campus. But if you walk around like you're still cool on campus, no one wants to come see you losing. You know what I mean? So we had that at Purdue. We sucked. And we had guys still going out to parties, still hanging out, acting like the big guys on campus. And nobody's buying that when you're a bad team. But when you start winning and you start winning big games, they beat Tennessee, Arizona, one of those games, it'll get back rocking in there. You see what happened at Maryland when they went on that run last season and they had that ranked game against, I think it was UCLA.
Yeah.
And it was rocking in there, and they just got the doors run off of
I
it.
know.
What happens when you start to win some games on campus?
All right, so another team, another preview, get everyone sort of settled here for the season. It's creeping up on us. September begins next week. Will be October 10th in Minnesota for Big Ten Media Day. Raphael, as always, a pleasure. We're going to keep this going every week. Hoops you.
There we go. Appreciate it, Andy.